What's going on, gamers? This is Ganem again here, and today I'm going to be coming at you again with another free-to-play farming guide. This is going to be as of 2023. I'm recording this on January 3rd, so Happy New Year, folks, by the way. And this is going to be a farming guide that's going to be piggybacking off of the ship farming guide I made a couple months back. So in case you have not seen that, I will leave a link in the description, which you can go ahead and check out right now. Alright, welcome back. So now we're going to be continuing the farming guide. So the way I've divided this up is that there's going to be categories. For every category, there's going to be certain teams that we're building to achieve an end goal. And so I've started each category with an S tier character, and then we're just going to run through the teams, talk about why we're building said teams, and then the goal that we want to accomplish with those said teams that we've built. So I think there's nothing left to talk about. So with that said, let's just go ahead and jump straight into things. Alright, so starting off with the first ever team we are going to build on our new free-to-play account is going to be the First Order. And ironically enough, it's going to be the first part of the First Order we build, so therefore, you know, First Order. But either way, these are all characters that you can start farming from a pretty early on point. You know, you unlock Kyle at like Chapter 3 of Cantina, you unlock Phasma Guild War, what is it called? Guild War? No, Galactic War Store. This is Cantina Store, Guild Store, and this is like a Chapter 2 hard node. But either way, all these are characters that we're going to need for SLKR, which, you know, spoiler alert, but you're going to need all these characters. They're also, all of these characters are pilots, so it's always useful to invest in pilots for a fleet that you're going to be building into, hence why these are the first characters on the list that we're going to farm. Next up, we have our Rebel Fighter team, which is just such a good team. Such a good team, not to mention all these characters we're pretty much going to need. Mind except for Pow and Mon Mothma, but they're both very easily attainable. But Cara Dune we're going to need for Bam, Kyle Katarn we're going to need for Starkiller, plus he's just a Chad. And then Hoth Rebel Scout shares a node with Hux. And the best part about this team is that they are very low investment. They have shared stats through Mon Mothma's lead. As well as she has a really good Zeta on her lead ability, which gives attacks out of turns. With 90% less damage, but the best part about it is if you have Scout on your team, he has 40% chance to give your team turn meter, so every time you're attacking out of turn, you have a chance to give your team turn meter, as well as the shared stats you can see. And I only have one Zeta for the team, and that's really all you need. The Zeta where she becomes untargetable is nice. The Pow Zeta, where he gains turn meter when you attack out of turn, is also nice, but it's really not something you need. I average like 2 to 3 holds like per Grand Arena, you know, on opponents that are like 2 million GP higher than me, and it's just because this team is so good. Specifically, these 3 characters together are just menaces. Super good defensive team. The only thing you really have to worry about is if your opponent has a high relic Darth Vader, then I would recommend putting them on offense, because otherwise he's just going to get juiced from these folks having the Rebel tag. But, you know, your player card's right. You should get full manners as well. But anyways, I can go on about this team forever. I love these guys. Super good team. Highly recommend. Super good early on. And now moving on to team number 3, which is going to be the Empire. So these Empire characters are all going to be needed, hence why they're here. But the biggest important one here is going to be Darth Vader. Darth Vader is a free-to-play player's best friend. You know, he's gonna Yoda you like Luke Skywalker did on Dagobah. You know what I mean? Like, he's just gonna throw you on his back and then just start doing front flips through the woods. And he's just gonna take you along for the ride. He's just gonna carry you. It's gonna be a good time. Not to mention, I just pulled a 25 speed frickin' mod on him, which I'm super pumped about, which I had to flex. Sorry. Not sorry. But anyways, these are the 5 characters that I recommend. They all are needed later on. You need her for Starkiller, you need him for Executor, you need him for Executrix, and you'll need him for Lord Vader later on, and then Palpatine you'll need for SLKR. Alright, team number 4, we got our boys, our second First Order, which is also the last remaining characters in the First Order faction besides SLKR himself. So these are pretty much the majority of the SLKR requirements. SLKR has 12 character requirements. Is that right? Maybe 13. But this First Order makes up 10 of those characters. So Once you farm all these first order characters, you just pretty much need to gear them, relic them, and then boom, you pretty much have an SLKR. So that's why they're here. Not to mention they're also actually very good. Hux, you have the Admiral for the Finalizer. Has a pretty decent lead, a great unique. Has a buff dispel, all assist, a turn meter swap, super good. Sith Trooper blows up bitches. You know what I'm saying? Does a ton of damage. Has a great attack out of turn. Fox has that buff dispel as well as a turn meter pull. Very healthy character. Probably could go to Weight Watchers every now and then, but that's beside the point. Kylo Ren is just going to be a good solo character, actually. With his Zeta, he's got some health and protection recovery. The more debuffs he has on him, the more tanky he is, the more speed he gets, all this good stuff. He's a good character as well. And then you have a great first Omicron and First Order TIE Pilot. You know, his TIE Pilot is absolutely transformative. This First Order team is kind of notorious for being mid-tier towards bottom tier, but when you put this Grand Arena, when you put this Omicron on, all of a sudden this team just transforms into being this monster that's able to do so much. And it's a very good Omicron. It's a very good first Omicron, which I highly, highly recommend. Really makes this First Order farm really not too shabby. When it's, you know, otherwise viewed as not being great. There's a lot of better things to go early on, but when you get this Omicron, all of a sudden, it is not bad. It's actually quite good, which is why it's in my farming guide. Anyways, team number 5. Now we have our bounty hunters. This bounty hunter team is pretty much going to be the key to our future. These bounty hunters are super, super good. They're kind of a get-out-of-jail-free card for when your opponent has something, you know, really thick and chonky. Like, for example, one of my opponents in Grand Arena had, like, a Padme team, had, like, a freaking, like, Relic 8 Anakin or some crap like that, and I just put my bounty hunters with Aura Singh lead because she was a calendar character, and then I did the turn meter cheese, and then I had Mandalorian who just insta-killed Anakin, and it was just GG easy. But either way, also all these characters are very important, mostly Bosk. Bosk is going to be so important. Once you get the farm for him, you just want to try and get him to 7 stars as fast as you possibly can. And that's because of this ship right here. The ship is like the best ship in the game, hands down. This passive is so insane. This protection up that he gains every time he takes damage makes him, he can solo fleets. Like, he's amazing. There's no other ship that can do that. Houndstooth, best ship in the game by far, which makes him pretty much, I like to say, the best bounty hunter. A lot of people make the case for Grief that he's the best. He's very, very good, but I still think Bosk is the best just because he's a pilot for Houndstooth. And also, you can't gear him up any higher than gear tier 11 until you get him to 7 stars. So very important that you spam him the crap out once you unlock him. Boba Fett, going to be also you need Houndstooth for literally like every fleet in the game to unlock the capital ship. It's weird. But now we get to Boba Fett, pilot for the Slave 1. Also, you need him for Executor. And he's a pretty decent character on top of that. Also, he's Hut Cartel, which is, you know, he's got quite a bunch of tags to his name, which is always nice. Then we have Grief Karga, needed for BAM. Also, just a great bounty hunter, the second best bounty hunter in the game, which I like to say. He has this ability, which is just a buff dispel. Protection recovery, health recovery, gives turn meter and tenacity up if you have your payouts. And he has got this buff dispel, an all assist, and then when you gain when you kill and your opponent with this ability, you gain all these buffs for 3 turns. He's just a super good character. His basic has protection, recovery, and health recovery. Like, he's just such a good character. And it applies days. Like, it just, the list goes on and on and on. He's such a good character. On top of being needed for BAM, which is perfect. Mandalorian, again, like we said, he's got that get-out-of-jail-free card, that Disintegrate, which is literally just an annihilation. There's only 2 characters in the game that have that right now, Nihilus and Mando. Obviously, you can't assassinate, you know, Galactic Legends. But let's see, yeah, he instantly defeats the target enemy. Can't be evaded, and enemies defeated by this ability can't be revived. So, super, super good character. Also, you need him for BAM as well. And then finally, we have Jango. Jango is such an important farm because he's on the node with the Houndstooth. So, you just kind of want to build him anyway because you're already going to have him. Also, you're going to need him later on. He's needed for JMK. And also, He does a lot of damage, and he pretty much can solo along with Newt Gunray, the Padme event. So really good character. Also, not to mention, look at these tags. Like, I think he's the character with the most tags in the game, rightfully so. He's like your boy when he goes to the doctor's office getting checked for STDs. He just checks all the boxes, man. He's super good character. Super, super good character. So just highly recommend this character. Also, I used that joke on stream before. Throwback. Anyways, now we finally have our last team, which is going to be team number 6. The perfect amount of teams which you need for GAC, which is going to be our Scoundrel team. Now, this team, you might be like, you average Arnold enjoyers out there might be like, why are you building BAM so early on? However, my friends, give me a second to explain. Would you believe me if I told you this team beats CLS? I couldn't actually tell you if that's true or not because I don't have the character right now, but my homie Wolf in the battalion has told me that it actually works, and I've looked up videos on it, and it actually does. And obviously it makes sense because Dash Rindar has that unavoidable and unresistible daze, defense down, critical damage down. He has a stun. A really good leadership ability. You need him for Star Killer. Queel has a stun, protection recovery, shared stats with IG-11. IG-11 has a ton of health, some protection recovery, evasion. Mandalorian has good damage because of these characters you're building. You're pretty much going to have full stacks of Whistling Birds when you pop that. He's going to do good damage, health, healing, disability, healing immunity, whatever it's called. The Red Cross. And then you're going to have Veteran Smuggler Han, who's needed for SLKR. And most importantly, while he goes well in this team, he also has a stun. This team has insane CC and health recovery. And he has an AoE stun, and you need him for SLKR. So all the characters that we're building for SLKR are going to have homes. None of them are going to be left out. And all these teams are going to prove to be a pretty solid base to base your account off of. And with these 6 teams alone, you're going to relic up all your requirements, and you're going to unlock Supreme Leader Kylo Ren. That'll be your first Galactic Legend. You'll have the Finalizer fleet. You will be cruising. You'll have these 6 teams, and with that, you have a great start to the game. Now, we're going to move on to our second section, which is going to be a little bit of core fleshing out our roster a little bit. We're going to be building those CLS requirements, which, by the way, I really only brought some of my CLS requirements in Cara Dune to the Palpatine event, and I literally had my CLS requirements at level 50, gear tier like 5 or 4, whatever it is. What is this? 6. Okay, so 6 or 5. And Cara Dune literally solo carried the Palpatine event. So Cara Dune's the GOAT. That was just a side plug because I love that Rebel Fighter team. Anyways, so yes, we're going to need our CLS requirements. And then, of course, like every good boy, we're going to need our C3PO requirements as well. We're going to have to build the worst team in the game, as I like to call them, the worst Omicron in the game, as I like to say, and that shit haunts me. And then we're also going to build our Padme requirements because we basically already have those on lock with having Django. New Gunray, super easy to farm. Asajj, super easy to farm. Droideka, you're already going to need to farm him because you need the Xandu blood for the Finalizer to farm that. And so the only thing you really need to farm is going to be Count Dooku. And he'll be helpful, later on. Would recommend building him. Also, you pull him often in Bronzium packs. Really not that going to be that difficult of a farm. And he's a Cantina character, so that farm should go pretty quick. But this is pretty much just the beginning of fleshing out our roster. Filling out our roster, I'll say, rather, because this CLS team is just going to be a staple team. It beats so many teams in the game. It's just a super good team. They have everything you'd really want in a team. Han stuns right off the bat. He always takes the first turn. Chewie's got buff dispel, stun. CLS has buff immunity, turn meter pull. Chewie has shared stats. C3PO is, translate, confusion, a bunch of awesome things. This team just has it all. This is a great team. I think every account needs a CLS team. It's just too good a team to pass up on. And it's so, so versatile. You can honestly mix up these characters in other teams. You can throw Han on a Scoundrel team somewhere. There's just so much you can do with this team. The possibilities are endless. I definitely think it's a great first team to go after you get SLKR. Everyone needs them. Now, we're going to have our... Oh, wrong button. we're going to move into our Padme team. This is a team that's also pretty much going to be a staple team, and also all these characters are going to be pilots, except for Padme herself. But Anakin, oh my gosh. Anakin you're going to need for his starfighter. Ahsoka has her starfighter. Kenobi has the negotiator, because he's the pilot for that. And then Fives is going to be the pilot for the Umbaran. The only other ship that I would recommend really needing for the negotiator fleet is going to be Plo Koon. And with those, like four or five ships, your negotiator fleet's pretty much golden. You really don't need much outside of that point. Farming those other characters is cringe, especially considering that we're not going JMK right now. So, don't mean to spoil the farming guide, but yeah, really these characters are all you need. And plus, having a Padme lead, you can kind of throw whatever mishmash Galactic Republic characters you really want, and the team functions just fine. So these are the characters I would recommend for this team. You're gonna need them. They're also really good characters. So that's what we're gonna do for this Padme team. Like I said, a lot of this category is just kind of filling out our roster, giving us more teams to work with, to beat ground-based teams, which is also the case for the next category, which is the Sith team. Sorry, not category, the next team. Traya you're going to get from raids. You're just going to gain her passively from being in a guild that unlocks her. That does the Heroic Sith raid. And Nihilus is a really good character. He's a Sith character that you're going to need. He's also his Annihilate, the only other instant kill besides Mando. Excuse me, goodness. We're going to have Darth Sion because he has a node with the Kylo's command shuttle. So you're already going to have a Scion. You just have to gear him. We want to go Savage Opress. Savage Opress just got an Omicron like a couple months ago or something like that. And it is so good. Look at all this crap. It literally starts off by saying he has 50% defense, max health, and offense, and 30 speed. That's just the start of that Omicron. But most importantly, Traya also just got an Omicron, which, check this out. 40% crit damage, max health. So with Savage's Omicron, I don't know if it stacks Omicrons. I don't know if you can use Traya's Omicron with Savage Omicron, but I don't see why you wouldn't be able to. So if theoretically they stack, which I don't know if they do, maybe not. I have no idea. But either way, you could potentially have 90% max health with Savage Press right off the bat. Or whatever. Like, it's just busted. But even if they don't stack, Traya's Omicron is great. Savage Opress's Omicron is great. If you're not going to go the Savage Opress Omicron, though, I don't recommend farming him. He's not a good character outside of his Omicron, but with his Omicron, he's amazing. So that's why this team is nice. They're very nice to have. Also, the most important part, and the main reason why we're building this team is because then we're going to build Darth Talon. Darth Talon, as a character herself, isn't very good. She has a nice unique, where I think it's when the enemy, or when your allied leader takes damage, you gain turn meter. Yeah, whenever the leader is damaged, all allies gain 5% turn meter. So she has a pretty nice unique. Her damage is very lackluster for her being an attacker, but she's needed for Star Killer. So that's the main reason why she's here. And then finally, I'm sorry, there's one more team before our final team for the category. We are then going to be going for our, what I call the Dumpster Hunters. This is basically because this next category, all this is, along with filling out our roster, is going to be the Executor category. So, of course, for Executor, we need Cad Bane and IG-11 for those ships. And so they're going to be high relic because we need them for Executor. And then, obviously, we don't really have a home for them because we have our Bounty Hunter team right here. Also, I just totally glossed over this category, and I didn't say that it ended. But this category is basically just requirements. This next category was the actual teams that we're using to fill out our roster. But yeah, this is basically just to give our bounty hunters a home. That's also why I threw in the Zam Wessel here, because of her Omicron is going to help boost these characters. Because otherwise, if you didn't do this, you'd just have an IG-11 and a Cad Bane that's just sitting there, even though they're going to be high relic for their ships. So if you give them, Zam Wessel, you're going to need Dengar for Executor. And then I threw in Embo because you actually do need Embo early or later on as well. He'll fit nice into the farming guide, and you'll see why here in a moment. But it just gives them a home. and it just makes them not just sit on the shelf and pick up dust. I would mainly recommend putting this team on defense, and at the very least, it's going to cause some kind of response from your opponent, because you'd like to ideally get the Zam Wessel Omicron, just to make your team or your opponent throw something at this team that's not just garbage. But this, like I said, you'll see why these characters are here in a moment, pretty much. Finally, we have, for this category, our Executor Troopers. This is going to be the Imperial Trooper team. The Imperial Trooper team is literally like an S-tier team. They're also pretty much your best chance for countering Galactic Legends for a non-Galactic Legend team. Mostly because they can just run a turn meter train on your opponent and just basically make it so they never take a turn. And then Dark Trooper is just going to punch the crap out of people. But mostly, the reason why we're able to build into this team is for Piet. Piet you need for Executor. He's also the Admiral for the Executor, so he's super important. And he's also the one that gets this turn meter train started, pretty much. So you want to have high speed on him, but these other 4 characters you don't need for Executor. But I just wanted an excuse to build this team. This team is so good. It does so much good things on offense. Not really great on defense, but this team is just such an offensive powerhouse. I was like, the second I saw Piet, I'm like, yep, we're building Imperial Troopers. You want this team. They're amazing. They counter Darth Revan. You can kill, SLKR, Palpatine. There's so many good things that this team can do. So highly recommend this team, and that's pretty much going to be our end of this category, which is going to be our Executor category. So now at this point we have SLKR and we have Executor, and then we're also going to have CLS, a bunch of other fleshed out roster teams, but mostly our big goals that we have are going to be SLKR and SLKR and Executor. Now we're doing a little bit more of fleshing out our roster again, and we're building into our Jedi Knight Revan. And as you can see, this is only going to be this also Jedi Knight Revan. There's not going to be a Darth Revan in this category. And you might be like, why? He's really good. And which I would agree. I think Darth Revan's a very good team. I have another account. It's like a 4 million, almost 5 million account. And it has both Revans. And Darth Revan is such a good team for me. It beats a lot of teams. Problem is, he's a very linear character. He really serves only one purpose. He doesn't do much outside of just doing a lot of damage. His fear is nice, but if you even just do damage to the enemy that has fear, they're going to just get rid of fear. Meanwhile, Jedi Knight Revan has a lot of utility. You can put him with Jedi Knight Luke. You can put him with Jedi Master Luke. He has, the Savior, the Mark. He has so much utility, a turn meter swap. While Darth Revan, on the other hand, you can only put him with a Malgus team outside of his own team, because then you have to have that Sith Empire trait to get the 50% critical damage. He's very locked into a certain function, and he can't really do much outside of that. So he's going to make you he doesn't build into anything. Like I said, he's really good on a Malgus team, but Malgus is so unattainable for free-to-play players early on. You can basically forget about it. So Jedi Knight Revan is going to be much more cheap, he's going to be much more affordable, and he's going to have more utility, and he's going to serve more of a function for our lineup. So that's why I have us going into Jedi Knight Revan and not Darth Revan, which means no Malik, which is a little unfortunate because he has a lot of solo potential. But anyways, you'll live without him, because then we're going to have this team, which is going to be our Star Killer team. Star Killer is basically a Galactic Legend in Grand Arena. We already have the 4 characters up until this point. We have Mara Jade here. We have Kyle Katarn from the Rebel Fighter team. We have Darth Talon from the Sith team. And then we have the other one, which I don't remember. I think it was Mara Jade. Did I say Mara Jade? Well, either way. She's right there, the Empire. You get the point. But the only character you really have to farm for this is Visas, and then leveling up Star Killer, of course. You're already going to have Old Ben. You'll need Old Ben later on for Jedi Master Luke as well. So having Old Ben here just works out great. And that's pretty much going to be the end of part 3. This will be the Star Killer category. So up until this point, we have a lot of great things working for us, which will lead into our next Galactic Legend, because at this point, our fleets are going to be cracked. We have Finalizer, we have Negotiator, and we have Executor. We're just killing it in the fleet department right now. So we actually want to start to get more ground-based stuff, which is why we're going to go for a second Galactic Legend, which you'll start to see who we're building into in a moment here. But The first thing I have us going into is going to be Grievous. It's going to take us a long time to get Grievous. He's a hard farm, so pushing him off until this late in the game kind of makes sense. You really only can get him from, like, Fleet Store. You know, he's pretty hard to get. Droidica we're already going to have because we need Xandu Blood. BB-8 we're already going to have because of First Order. So this GG8 team is nice. Having BB-8 in here instead of another droid is very nice because of his unique, which gives, and it's really all you need him for, but it just gives turn meter. Droid allies gain 8% turn meter for each active droid ally. So basically all your droids are pretty much going to take a turn first, which means they apply target lock, and then they just start their turn meter train. So having BB-8 here is nice. Most of the time what happens is that he actually just dies. He doesn't really use an ability or anything like that. That's really all he's needed for. He just gains turn meter to the start, and he's just very convenient, and you already have him, and you'll need him later on. So it works out. But you're going to need the rest of these characters, though, and you'll see why. Then we're going to build a Separatist team. This is just another Separatist team in addition to the GG8 team. We already built Count Dooku for the Padme event, so we're already going to have him at 7 stars. We just need to gear him. We're going to need Magna Guard. Django we already have, which is nice. Newt Gunray we're already going to have, which is nice. Asajj, we're going to need her as well. We're just going to gear her up higher because she's a requirement for gas. So, as you can see, gas is why we're building these characters, because we need them for the gas event. Next, you can surely see where this farming guide is going. I mentioned a second Galactic Legend, and you see Bad Batch. You know what I'm talking about now. Lord Vader. Lord Vader is going to be our second Galactic Legend. This is because he doesn't have a fleet. I was debating going for Rey second, but you'd have to build Radis, which I just did not want to do. Otherwise, she would have been perfect, but we're going to go for Lord Vader next. He has so many good requirements. He does. You know, they're expensive as all be, but man, are they good. This Bad Batch team is amazing. Shakti is going to be great. You can put her on Padme. You can put her with Revan. You know, you can put her with clones. You can put her with Bad Batch. You know, she's such a good character and works so well in a Galactic Republic. So she's perfect to farm with this Bad Batch team, and of course you'll need her for the gas event, which she'll be the final piece for the puzzle for the gas requirement. So then we're going to get gas, and then we're going to finish up our 501st. We're already going to have 5s from Hizum Baran Starfighter. We're going to get Rex from Bronziums, honestly. Echo, also same thing, you'll get him from Bronziums. If not, you can, farm him at this point. It's not really going to matter that much. You're probably just going to gain enough shards to have him 7-star by this point in the game anyway. And then Arc Trooper, you're going to need it like your Relic 8 or some crazy crap. But it'll work out, because, I mean, he'll do a lot of damage, so no complaints. And then, of course, gas. And then the only 2 last requirements that you'll need for Lord Vader are pretty dookie. It is what it is. You're gonna have to Relic 7 Tarkin, and then Tusken Raider, you're going to have to, like, Relic 5 or some crap. This one's the unfortunate one. At least this one you have Executrix. But otherwise not a great character. And that'll give us Lord Vader. So, boom. At this point, we're cruising. We have SLKR, Lord Vader, Finalizer, Negotiator, Executor, Starkiller. We're cooking. So now we finally move into the last part of this farming guide, which is going to be our 3rd GL. We just had the addition of the Sanastaros, or the Dr. Aphra team, which gave us this lovely, lovely character in Sanastaros. Now, at this point in time, she is not yet farmable, but obviously by the time I get to this point, I am sure she will be. This farming guide will last me for, let's just say, at least a couple years. Probably 3 or more. But, we already have Cara Dune, and Cara Dune is the one that carries this team. This team took us by storm. This Stormtrooper Han. Anyways, this team is literally cracked. We just saw them just really recently, and man, their performance blew us away. And it's going to work out perfectly for what we need it for. So, like I said, we already have her. We already have Stormtrooper Han, and we're going to need Captain Han and Rolo. So let's just throw them perfectly, because they're going to be a perfect fit into this team, whereas otherwise they just wouldn't have a place to do anything with. They just sit on the dust, and they just sit on the shelf and pick up dust, which really at this point we only really have a couple characters that are picking up dust. Like Tusken Raider's going to pick up dust, Tarkin's going to pick up dust, but the rest of the characters that we're farming are actually going to serve a purpose. No one's really going to sit on the bench, except for maybe the requirements. I'll tell you who is going to sit on the bench for sure, though. These pricks. But anyways, yeah, we're pretty much getting good value out of all the characters that we're building, which is what I really tried for on this account. So, of course, having to pull off Cara Dune from the Rebel Fighters team kind of sucks. So we're going to have to make do with this budget Rebel Fighters team. We're going to keep Kyle Katarn there. He's best used on the Rebel Fighters team. If you pull him off, he really doesn't do much. So you kind of need to keep him here. But then we're going to get the other characters that are requirements. This team is going to perform infinitely better than this team, which is hard to think because I love this team so much. But this team will serve a function. The actual Rebel Fighters team with Kyle Katarn and Cara Dune and all them, POW, all them good stuff, Rebel Scout, I would say that team is an A-tier team at full strength, you know, having like really good speed, all the Zetas, stuff like that. I'd consider it an A-tier team. Without it, I would consider them C, B, probably C. Just because Biggs and Wedge Lando doesn't do much. But, you know, at the same time, it's still going to function like a Rebel Fighter team would. It's just you're not going to have a turn meter train. You're just going to be a little bit faster because Kyle Katarn's going to give speed up. But that's the Rebel Fighter team you're going to work with. But it is what it is because this team's a lot better. Then we're going to have our Butt Cartel. I would love to just farm this team now because they're fucking needed for everything. Conquest and Galactic Challenges, they show up every damn day. So I'd love to build them now, but you know you're going to need them. So, because, you know, I'm sure you're catching on as to what we're going for now. Our third Galactic Legend is going to be. But these are characters you'll need. And then we're going to have this Bounty Hunter team. Pretty much just because we're going to need Fennec and Aura. As you can tell, our third Galactic Legend is going to be Jabba. Jabba is just such a good Galactic Legend. He's pretty much like the best Galactic Legend in the game right now. He's needed for so much, and his team has performed amazingly without Datacrons. Watching his performance has been awe-inspiring, and I'm like, I need to get this guy ASAP. So we're going to have him third on our list just because he's expensive, with needing the whole, you know, Jedi Knight Luke problem. So outside of him, though, he's not too terribly expensive. So, you know, you just got to get the Hutt Cartels. That's why they're there. And also, of course, this team as well. This other Bounty Hunter team, it's not going to be great, but they're just requirements. You know, I was just trying to think of, you know, functions that you can just use them in. It'd be something like this. This team itself, you know, you don't have to do. It was mostly just to show you that you need to farm Aura Singh and Fennec Shand in order to get Jabba. Again, same thing here. We need Skiff-Guard Lando, and I was like, where could I put him? Because there's too many Hutt Cartels. There's too many Hutt Cartels to really form like a couple good teams. So I was like, you know, Skiff-Guard Lando is someone you can pull because you can pass a turn meter. Like you can pass a turn over to somebody, so you like push, you know, put a turn over to dash. So I just figured I'd put him in here, and then this team is, you know, same as before. They're gonna function. He'll just be there. But you just need him for Jabba. And then we're going to have our Jedi Knight Luke. Like, it sucks farming Jedi Knight Luke because you need Hermit Yoda and Wampa, which is so much get one currency. But by this stage in the game, you should have both. And, you know, you need Rolo as well. It's just a very obnoxious farm to get Jedi Knight Luke. He's so expensive. But like I said, so that's why I think having him as a third Galactic Legend makes sense, because by this point you can afford, you know, hopefully, you know, because like I said, it'll take years to get to this point. So having enough get one to get Wampa and Hermit Yoda, you should have enough by that point. So I like sliding him in here. And again, you know, this utility out of Darth Revan is just so good. And this is you can counter like SLKR. You can counter with this. You know, just marking him down and then just walloping on him with, you know, JKL. So, you know, that's another reason why I just prefer him over Darth Revan. But anyways, you know, I digress. We can have an argue about that in the comment section, which I'm sure there'll be plenty of people arguing about that because I don't have Darth Revan or Malik in this lineup. But, you know, and then again, you know, you can do with this farming guy whatever you will. It's a video game. Do what you want. But anyways, then these characters are 100% going to pick up dust. But you need them for a Galactic Legend. Every Galactic Legend has a price. That's an unfortunate price, but it is what it is. Even SLKR, he is a Veteran Smuggler Hunt. So, but anyways, yeah, it sucks, but oh well. And then that'll give us a Jabba. Elfine. That's the end of this farming guide. This is going to be part 1. For the farming guide. In part 2, I'll actually flesh out probably, hopefully, the rest of the characters and the teams in this game. Obviously, it's going to be a tall task, and I may not do that for a while, but this will last you guys for a while, especially if you're starting from scratch like me. All I really have at this point in time is just these first 6 teams. I'm using Newt Gunray for here right now instead of Bam, but I'm working on getting the rest of my Bam requirements up to 7, and then I'll have Bam here, and then I'll be cooking, and then I'll just farm my way up to SLKR. So, but folks, that'll be it for me. Man, it's been a long time that would have been recording, so I'm going to have some water and go to bed. It's 4:40 a.m., so that'll be it for me, folks. But, you know, Happy New Year's to you. Thanks for coming out, and, you know, look for more content soon. You know, catch my stream. I'll post my stream link in the description as well. And, you know, make sure to like and subscribe and all that fun stuff. And I will catch y'all later, guys. Thank you so much. Peace out.